Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today. My name is Laura Rodriguez, and I am a staff scientist at the Lunar and Planetary Institute, and I am leading the ETMA, which will be happening next year. And today is an informational webinar, so we'll be covering briefly what the ETMA is about, our goals, as well as information about housing and the application and eligibility. Before I get started, I want to introduce my two co-hosts, Christine Schulpa and Claudia Bellard. Christine, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm Christine Shupla. I'm the Science Engagement Manager at LPI, the Lunar and Planetary Institute, and I have the pleasure of supporting Dr. Laura Rodriguez with ETMA.
And Claudia?
Thank you, Laura. My name is Claudia Bellard, and I've been with the LPI 17 years, and I am the program manager. And I look forward to supporting y'all under the ETMA, and looking forward to seeing you.
Thank you, Claudia. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Briefly, what are the goals for ETMA? So ETMA stands for the Extraterrestrial Materials Academy. It is an academy versus an internship program. So the main difference being where you have an internship program, which is really hiring you to do perhaps research. The ETMA, the first 4 weeks is going to be really focused on teaching you and providing lectures, daily activities, and then the second half of the ETMA will be focused on actually carrying out a research internship program, or sorry, a research experience. So the goals that we have for the students are going to be three. There's going to be one, we want students to leave equipped to identify career paths of interest in planetary science. So we're going to be inviting speakers to talk about their career paths and all of the different career options there are in planetary science besides being a research professor or a research scientist. There's so much more out there. Two, we also want students to leave equipped with analytical skills and knowledge to be competitive in the field. So this comes with getting the crash course in planetary science, starting with how do planetary systems form, what are planetary processes on bodies that help regulate the climate, for instance. What do we know about astrobiology, life detection, and all of that? So it's a real crash course in everything planetary science. And in addition to that, in parallel, you'll be getting laboratory training about 3 to 4 hours every day on the fundamentals that we think are critical for a career in planetary science. And then finally, students will leave equipped with resources to help support their journey. So we don't want to just throw all this information at you and say, good luck. We want to provide you a cohort that you can stay in touch with as you continue your journey, as well as resources in terms of funding opportunities, how to reach out and establish a career mentor that can help talk you through your as you continue your journey through planetary science. One thing I want to highlight, this opportunity is designed for undergraduate students. So we will not be accepting applicants from graduate students or those that are in some kind of doing their dual bachelor's and master's degree at the same time. And it is limited to students that are either U.S. citizens or permanent residents. And I want to emphasize it's also specifically tailored for students that do not already have access to research opportunities and planetary science content. So if you're coming from a big university that has a lot of planetary science already, you will not be prioritized because the whole idea of this program is to really give an opportunity to those that do not have it already at their institute. So now I want to go into the overview of the academy, so what the daily life will be like. So first of all, this is a 10-week summer academy. It will be starting on June 8th, going through August 14th, and it will primarily be taking place at the Lunar and Planetary Institute in Houston, Texas. So here's an image of the LPI. There are limited spaces, so we will only be able to accept probably around 6 students. And the structure is, as I mentioned before, the first 4 weeks will be highly structured. So we imagine that this will start with a lecture in the morning, probably a 9 a.m. 1-hour type lecture, followed by an activity that will reinforce what you've learned in the lecture. And then we'll have a lunch break. Occasionally, that lunch break will be you'll be listening to an invited speaker talking about their career path or their research interests. And then for the rest of the half of the day, it will be spent with a 1 hour introduction to the lab, and then followed by 3 to 4 hours of laboratory training. So this is what the first 4 weeks will be like. It'll be very structured. And then for the weeks 5 to the end, you'll have an opportunity to select 1 or 2 research projects that are of interest to you and select your role in that research project. So you could choose a role focusing on a technique that really interested you, that you otherwise are not really well skilled at, but you want to get better at. So you could choose that role in a particular research project. And that will be the last half of the internship program or the academy. The funding for this comes from NASA. As our partners are obviously ourselves, as well as UHCL and TSU. And we are also collaborating with the local NASA Johnson Space Center. So now let's talk about the application process. The eligibility. We are looking for undergraduates who have completed at least 36 credit hours by the time that the application closes, which is January 16th, 2026. As I mentioned, you have to be a U.S. citizen or a U.S. permanent resident, and you must also be enrolled in a U.S. accredited degree granting institution, either at the time of the application, or you could demonstrate that you were enrolled at some point in 2025 with plans to continue in 2026, because we understand some students, you might take a break. For instance, maybe you're taking a break right now for the winter, and that's totally fine. You're still eligible to apply. If you are graduating with your bachelor's, you're still eligible to apply as long as you are graduating either this semester or spring semester. That's totally fine. You just have to demonstrate in the application that you intend to continue your education, that this will be of use for you. For instance, if you are interested in maybe in applying to grad school later, you could talk about that, why you're interested in it, how this could help you. In particular, we're looking for students who are getting degrees in physical or natural sciences, engineering, computer science, or math majors. These are preferred. But if you are getting a degree in something else and you think that you are still competitive, we still highly encourage you to apply. All eligible students will be considered. Applications are open to, as I mentioned, all qualified undergraduates, with priority being those that are coming from smaller, non-research intensive universities or non-R1s. If you're interested in seeing if your institution is an R1 institution, you can check the institution classification at carnegieclassifications.acenet.edu, or you can just Google it. It usually pops up right away. Even if you are from an R1 institution, if you could demonstrate in your application, maybe you're an R1 institution, but it's really primarily focused on the classical sciences and doesn't have a planetary science program, then you could still argue your eligibility for this program, and we still welcome you to apply. So the application forms are online, so you could go to the ETMA website and go to the application information and scroll down, and you'll see the orange button to apply. You'll have to, it's a short application, and there are only 2 essay questions. So you'll describe, yourself and your qualifications in those essay questions. Please make sure to address every bullet point that was listed in the essay question. You'll also have to provide at least 2 letters of recommendation. They will be submitted online, and you will have to provide an official transcript from your institution. And as a reminder, the application deadline is January 16th, 2026. So we recommend that before you start writing your essays, that you review the details of the application criteria, make sure that you're eligible. Also review the selection criteria on the website. So if you go to the website, we do provide a rubric of how we will be assessing every individual application. So make sure you review that. So when you're writing your application, keep that in mind. Make sure to review the curriculum and the laboratory topics, because the essay questions, one of them does ask what topic you're particularly interested in and how you think that would be beneficial to you. So you'll need to be able to talk to that as well. We also really recommend that you ask for recommendations early, at minimum 2 weeks before the deadline, because folks need time to write your recommendations, and you don't want that to be a reason why you're not considered. And also, please make sure to request your official transcript early. We will not be accepting transcripts or recommendations that come after the deadline. So, final details. So participants will be receiving a stipend of $8,876 over the course of the 10 weeks. They will also be receiving a travel stipend of $1,000. That's to cover your travel to and from Houston. And housing will be provided. The value of that housing is about $34.75. So the LPI is already coordinated to have housing ready for you if you are selected. And so you don't have to worry about that. That will already be covered. Housing will be provided at the University Forest Apartments, which is a short walk from LPI and UHCL. Students will be sharing an apartment. They will have their own bathroom, their own private bathroom. There's also a community pool. So timeline. Application deadline, as I mentioned, is January 16th. We aim to select and notify participants by March 2026, and the ETMA will begin June 8th and August 14th, and students will return home the following day, August 15th. And at that point, I think we are ready to take any questions. Before I continue, just please note that if you go to the website, we also created an FAQ for folks. And so I would highly recommend reviewing that FAQ as well if you have additional questions. But at this time, I'm happy to open the floor to questions.
So thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. There was a question about prior applications to the program. I suspect that people might be confusing this with the LPI Summer Intern Program. Can you clarify the difference between the two?
Yes, so LPI actually is hosting two summer opportunities. One is the classic LPI Summer Intern Program, and that is an opportunity where you can work with a research scientist in planetary science on a particular topic. And that is very different than this program. This is a brand new program. This is the first year of this program. And this is an academy, so it's a little bit different because we have that first 4 weeks where it's going to be focused on teaching you and providing you the fundamentals in planetary science, both textbook-wise as well as in the lab, getting hands-on laboratory training. And then the second half, you will be able to work in group projects rather than individual projects like the LPI Summer Intern Program. Unlike that, you'll be working in group projects for the ETMA at the end.
Thank you. And so, yeah, people who have applied to the LPI Summer Intern Program should know that this one is a different program, as Dr. Rodriguez just mentioned. Another question or request was repeating the R1 criteria about this program.
Yes. So if you are at an R1 institution, that means it is a research intensive institution. These institutions tend to have professors that have a lot of funding to do their own research, and therefore you have more opportunities to engage in planetary science research. If you are at an R1 institution, you are not disqualified from applying. You just have to make a good argument, a good case for yourself as to why, even though you're at an R1 institution, there are not a lot of opportunities to engage in planetary science, both in your classes. Perhaps there is no classes being taught in planetary science. That would be a great, example of something you could argue for, as well as not having research opportunities if there are no planetary science professors, for instance, engaging in this type of research. That's definitely a possibility at some of the smaller R1 institutions I know. So, but the idea behind the criteria is that we're really trying to focus on students that already are not at institutions where there's a lot of planetary science happening, where there's a lot of courses, where there's a lot of professors doing this research, and you could just walk down the hall and ask to get involved in their research. So that was the reason for that criteria.
Thank you. And who can write the letters of recommendations? Can they be written by professors, friends, coworkers?
Yes, we would recommend definitely professors previous professors of yours that can speak to your academic skill set. For instance, they were a professor of yours in particular or a former mentor. They could be, if you don't really have a professor, you could also ask a current perhaps a job manager or boss to also speak to your skills as to your skills, for instance, coming in on time, your managing skills, working well with groups, because that's going to be really important for the ETMA. You're going to have to work in group projects at the end. So we are looking for those soft skills as well that someone could speak to. I would not recommend friends or anyone that's personally related to you. Because they're obviously going to have a bias. So I would recommend to keep those recommendations professional. So former bosses, former professors, former teachers, that sort of thing.
Thank you. There were a couple of questions related to what level of undergraduate. Is there a preference for freshmen, sophomore, or junior, senior candidates? So do you want to reiterate the number of credit hours required first?
Yes, the number of credit hours is 36 that you'll need to have completed by the time the application closes. So ideally this would put probably junior, senior, but I kind of don't want to say that necessarily because I know a lot of students, if you're attending community college, for instance, and you're attending when you can, you might not view yourself as like junior, senior, just so much as when you're completing your credit hours. So I would say upper level, but as long as you have those 36 credit hours, you are eligible to apply.
Thank you. And so there was a question here about the location. Are they traveling to different locations? Will everything be taking place at the Lunar and Planetary Institute?
Great question. So, your home base will be the Lunar and Planetary Institute. We will have laptops that we will be provided to students, and they will have a space at the Lunar and Planetary Institute to do their work, to do data analysis and so forth. But the actual laboratory training, a lot of times, will be taking place at the University of Houston Clear Lake, which shares a backyard with LPI. They have really nice laboratory spaces that we'll be using for a lot of the hands-on training. Um, some of the training will also take place at the LPI building as well. And then we will have a week of training at TSU, which is about 40 minutes away. Transportation to that will be provided, so no need to worry about that. Occasionally, we will also have tours, for instance, at the Johnson Space Center and other locations. And when we have those tours, we will also be providing transportation.
We're getting some more very interesting questions. Would applying to both the summer intern program and the ETMA hurt someone's chances of being accepted into the ETMA?
I don't think it will hurt your chances, but I think if you're qualified, if you feel that you're competitive for the LPI summer intern program, then the ETMA is probably not for you. But it won't hurt your chances. But just keep in mind the ETMA is for folks who do not already have that baseline fundamental education in planetary science or that skill set. And to be competitive for the LPI summer intern program, you probably already have that.
Thank you. I don't know if we have an answer to this one. There was a question about how many applicants we expect for ETMA. And of course, this is our first time offering it. Laura, do you have any ideas what the answer might be for that?
That I do not. I will, maybe Claudia has a better idea for that one.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, Claudia. Do you have an idea of how many applicants we might expect for this program?
As you mentioned earlier, Laura, this is our first year conducting this program. We're looking forward to receiving applications. I cannot provide or gauge on how many we're going to receive. So it's our first year and we're excited about it.
We don't know. We don't know.
We don't
Yeah.
know. I'm
Hard to
sorry.
know.
I suspect based on the LPI summer intern program, it could very well be hundreds. We don't know. Thank you. Do transferred credit hours from college level courses taken in high school count towards that minimum of 36 credit hours?
No, I would not count those as transfer credits towards those 36 credit hours.
Thank you. And let's see, so many different questions. Do they need to, when they start to fill out their application, should they already have their letters of recommendation and transcript at that time? This might be a good question for Claudia to help answer as well, given her experience with other application forms.
Thank you, Christine. All materials, including letters of recommendation and transcripts, must be received by January the 16th, 2026.
So they can start to fill out the application form earlier and then get the transcript and letters of recommendation after they've submitted the initial application, as long as it's in plenty of time, yes?
So once they go into the portal to submit their application, they need to be prepared to have the recommenders information, because the system will automatically send a notification to those recommenders to submit a letter of recommendation. So it is not the portal does not offer a save button. So once they start, they need to be prepared to answer all questions.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
The housing stipend, is it for everyone who is selected, or is it need-based?
The financial support for the housing will be provided for those students who are selected.
Thank you for everyone. And there were some questions related to how someone gauges whether the ETMA is more appropriate or applying for the LPI internship is more appropriate, whether the structured instruction that they will be receiving through ETMA might be more beneficial, or whether they should apply to the LPI summer intern program. That's a tough one. Laura, do you have an idea about that?
I think it goes back to, if you already have taken a lot of courses in planetary science, then you might not benefit as much from the ETMA, because the first half is a crash course in planetary science. And so therefore, maybe you would want to apply for the LPI summer intern program. If you already have a good idea of what is planetary science and what interests you about planetary science, then the ETMA is not probably really for you. If you are somebody coming, I would say, really out of the field, because that's the entire idea. We're trying to bring new folks into the field. So you don't have an opportunity to take a planetary science course, or there's just not, a lot going on in planetary science research at your institution, then the ETMA is more for you. So I think I feel that if you already have a good idea of what is covered in planetary science, then the LPI summer intern program is probably better, and then you'll just get straight into doing your own individual research project. ETMA might be, as I said before, is really for folks who are not in the field, who have not had that opportunity to learn about planetary science and to get those fundamental laboratory skill sets. So, for instance, making a thin section, optical microscopy, what is Raman spectroscopy, that sort of thing. And you can check online at our curriculum to see what's being covered. If you feel that you've already got a lot of coursework, or you already know what those topics are and those lab topics are, then I would go more for the LPI summer intern program.
Thank you so much. There was a request to hear a little bit more about the research that they might be engaged in as part of ETMA and the capstone project.
So we've decided there'll probably be two capstone projects, and so students will be divided into groups of three for each. And that's just so that you have enough opportunity to get data to actually have a story by the end of the 5 weeks of doing that work. And or really 6 weeks. And the topics for that have not been solidified yet, but it'll probably be something related to, for instance, meteorites, looking at organics and meteorites, inorganics and meteorites, or meteorite analogs, for instance. It'll be related to extraterrestrial materials, so that probably means meteorites or something related to that sort.
Thank you. And then this question I think is for Claudia as well about, they get paid a stipend for participating in ETMA. Somebody wanted to know if that money is provided up front.
Christine, that's a great question. And the monies are not provided up front. The first stipend payment that the individual will receive would be the day of orientation. So if you're looking to have some kind of financial support for travel, we'll take that into consideration. We'll evaluate the need.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
And for those who have expenses over the summer that they want to pay in advance, we're not going to be able to help with them with that, correct?
That is correct. At the housing, we will pay for them on their behalf. So there is no monies that for housing that they need to upfront.
Thank you. There's a question about if somebody is in an aerospace engineering track, is the ETMA still a good fit for them?
Yeah, I would say definitely. If you want to learn more about how you could apply engineering to planetary science, or in particular, you want to get more involved in planetary science and start shifting gears from engineering to science, ETMA is definitely, a good opportunity, I think, for you. And as I mentioned, there are so many different career options in planetary science. You don't have to be just a research scientist or an engineer. There's a lot of, for instance, mission operation roles that you would learn about here that might interest you. So I would definitely recommend applying for it.
Thank you. There's a question, I'm not sure if I'm interpreting it correctly. If someone does their own personal learning on the topic, but doesn't do research projects, but they have a mentor that they've already worked with to learn more about a subject, are they still eligible to apply?
I think if you don't have official credits, officially on your transcript about related to planetary science, and it's kind of something you've done on your own, then that shows initiative that you're really interested in this topic, but haven't had the actual opportunity. So you're taking the initiative to learn on your own. And so I would definitely welcome you to apply to this program.
Thank you. And there's questions about increasing someone's chances of being selected, what things they can prioritize. I think we've already put in the chat, but we will remind people again. Do you want to mention again about the details that are available in the application information, the criteria?
Yes, if you go to the ETMA website and you go to the application information and you scroll down, we talk about the eligibility, so you have to make sure you're eligible. But we also provide a rubric of how we will be assessing each of the candidates' essay questions and how we will be evaluating them. So I would recommend to look closely at that rubric as you are addressing each of the essay questions, try to increase your chances of being accepted. And then we also have a separate page under curriculum that talks about the topics that are going to be covered, as well as the laboratory training that will be covered. And that will also be important to mention what's interesting to you of those topics and the laboratory training to be covered. What do you think is going to be really beneficial for you in your future career aspirations, your future educational aspirations? And I would really make sure to emphasize why you haven't necessarily had the opportunity maybe to engage in planetary science, or get that training that you would have otherwise have liked to get at your current institution, especially if you're at an R1. If you can make that argument, that'll be really powerful.
Thank you. I'm going to limit it to 2 remaining questions. One is this something that a computer science student could apply for potentially?
Oh yeah, definitely. We welcome you. You are an example of somebody that is outside the field and we want to bring into the field. There's a lot of opportunities for computer scientists actually in planetary science, and including, for instance, machine learning for crater detection and whatnot. So it's definitely, if you want to boost your skill set and your knowledge in planetary science and break more into the field so you can learn how you can apply your data science, your computer science skills to planetary science, I would highly recommend applying to this program. We will be focusing on laboratory training, um, in addition to the actual curriculum. So you'll learn about what is planetary science, but you'll also be getting that laboratory training, which as a computer scientist, I don't think you would have. So if you're interested in learning a little bit about more about laboratory techniques, especially, this would be great. As I mentioned, there are lots of computer scientists in planetary science, and a lot of times it's actually really good for them to have a basic understanding of what it takes to be in the lab to get the data. Having that background information can be really important when trying to develop algorithms and models for folks. So having that background can be really useful.
Thank you. I like when I said there was only 2 more questions. Now there's only 2 more questions. I will first reiterate that this is the first time we're doing ETMA. Some of the questions that we've received or comments have to do with past applications, past experience. We don't have past experience doing the ETMA. This will be the first time. But one of the questions here that just came in was for the 36 credit hours, should they only count hours from their major, or if they're doing a minor, do those credit hours count as well along with their major?
Claudia, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe 36 credit hours towards a major or minor should be fine.
That is correct, as long as it's not high school, AP classes.
Thank you. And then the final comment. So there was a question as to whether or not there'll be any further instructions. Laura, do you want to mention anything about upcoming webinars?
We will have another informational webinar in, I think, the first week of January. So it'll be just like this. So if you come up with new questions that you want to ask, you can attend that. We will also be having a webinar, I think in the mid-December. We'll be making an announcement about it. And that'll be more of a talking about, we have an invited speaker to discuss about her research path and her career in doing both planetary science and drug discovery in parallel. So talking about how you can use your planetary science skills in something completely different, and also your skills in something completely different for planetary science. So if you want to learn more about especially if you're outside of the field and you want to learn how your skills can translate to planetary science, I would say keep an eye out on some of seminars like that. We plan on having at least 2, maybe 3 of those. So the first one will be happening mid-December.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And we're so glad that all of you joined us today. We're hoping to have this recording available in the future online for you. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Laura Rodriguez, for your time for this presentation. Thank you, Claudia, for your time as well. And we appreciate everyone's help and participation in this. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.